I hope everybody can see how serious the situation is right now. I am so bummed out. I am so upset about the way they did those statues and those. They're actually putting legislation in to desecrate graves. I can't believe it. It's uncanny. It's just too much. Please. Once again, Tucker seems to have been watching my videos and then turning around and reporting on exactly what I said. If you watched the video I did earlier where I was stuttering like a fucking mutant because I ran out of pot, So I finally found some pot from what I had stashed away, and I can get through a couple sentences without stuttering. But anyway, I made a stuttering video this morning, called Confederate Flags, Statues. It's called Editorial 105, closed caption, editorial, Confederate flags, statues, and history, ... Should they be removed? And, what I was basically saying in there is that, if you wipe out history, there ain't going to be no history, and you're bound to repeat it. All right.
Good evening and welcome to Tucker Carlson. Tonight we're going to have a live update for you in just a moment on the nation of Chaz. That's the new breakaway republic emerging from within downtown Seattle, Washington. Unfortunately, we have not yet secured visas to visit Chaz, but we do have pictures of what is happening inside its borders tonight. Stay with us for that. But first, on Wednesday, Senator Elizabeth Warren of Massachusetts proposed an amendment to the annual defense funding bill. Warren's wording would order the Pentagon to rename all military bases that are currently named for Confederate Civil War generals. Those bases include many of the most famous in the country: Fort Benning in Georgia, Fort Hood in Texas, Fort Bragg in North Carolina. You may have trained on one of those bases. The men...
And, this morning I reported on an article, Breitbart article, that came out in they reported that in 2015, Obama was asked this question about renaming these bases, and he said, no, we don't want to do that. He said, these are individuals. These weren't like a collective opinion. These were just individual people. So Obama said, don't do it, but you got Pocahontas here, and she's going for it.
Who fought and won World War II did. But Warren's amendment goes farther than just renaming bases. Warren would also require the desecration of war graves. This country is filled with national cemeteries that honor Americans who fought and died in our wars. And many of those cemeteries hold Civil War soldiers from both sides and contain monuments to their sacrifice. Those soldiers, blue and gray, Confederate and Union, are buried alongside one another, and they are for a reason. One side in that conflict was right, the Union side, and the other was wrong, the Confederate side. But when it was over, they were all Americans again, and allowing them to lie in the same cemeteries next to each other allowed this country to heal its deepest fissure. But healing is the opposite of what Elizabeth Warren wants to do now. She has no time for healing. Warren profits from hatred and division, particularly racial division, no matter how mindless. Exactly how many dead Confederate soldiers owned slaves or even supported slavery? Elizabeth Warren doesn't know. She doesn't care to know. She wants to humiliate them 150 years after they died, and more to the point, their descendants now. In Arlington National Cemetery, just outside Washington, there is a memorial to Confederate troops. Warren's amendment orders the Army to tear it down. This is vandalism, obviously, but it's worse and deeper than that. Healthy societies do not destroy their own history. A country is the sum total of what has happened within it, good and bad. Without history, you have no country. You just have a collection of banks and check-cashing outlets and retail stores. All of us may have iPhones, but that's not a country. It's obvious. But somehow it's not obvious to Senate Republicans.
And what Tucker forgot to fucking mention is that when you forget about history, history always repeats itself. That's why we record history, so we won't make the same mistakes of the past. If mistakes were made, yeah, Then you record them and you say, and you put a statue up and you say, don't do that. That's what anybody with a brain knows that's why these statues are there, but they don't give a fuck. This is so fucking bad. Remember those little things about never forget, always remember kind of thing? What about that? Why do you think they said that stuff? In my video today, I said this is the same thing as completely going through all the history books, finding everything that every swastika, everything that had anything to do with Hitler or the Third Reich or the Holocaust, and just completely forgetting about it, gutting it out of all the history books, scrubbing out, burning all the books, taking all the monuments, and just completely erasing the memory of the Holocaust. Okay, what will happen then? It'll happen again. That's why they have a Holocaust Memorial Museum up on Orchard Lake Road. A Holocaust Memorial Museum is up there on Orchard Lake Road. Why do you think it's there? It's there to remind people of. Do you think it's there to glorify the concentration camps? What the fuck is your problem, you idiots?
They support Elizabeth Warren's amendment. The amendment easily emerged from the bipartisan Senate Armed Services Committee. If the president doesn't veto it, Warren's desecration order will become law. Republicans are fine with that. They assume if it does become law, it will be enough. The mob will be sated. The destroyers will have gotten what they wanted, and the GOP can return to its preferred agenda for carrying water for big finance.
Yeah. In other words, go ahead. Bend down. Go ahead. Submit. See what they're going to do next. So fucking stupid.
But they're mistaken in this, because it's never enough. Extremists are never placated. In fact, every success makes them stronger and makes them more radical.
Exactly.
We're watching it now. That's why around the country, mobs are not waiting for a vote to destroy history. They watch.
This is the worst thing ever. You got to watch this show, and it hurts me to watch what they're doing here. They're tearing down these monuments. Killing me, man. They're fucking killing me here.
Rioters loot and burn without being punished, and they took the cue. Now they're destroying history in many states. In Richmond, for example, they ripped a statue of Christopher Columbus from its pedestal and they threw it in a lake. They didn't explain what that might have to do with police brutality. In Philadelphia, they vandalized a statue of an industrialist called Matthias Baldwin. Why him? Well, it wasn't for civil rights. In fact, Matthias Baldwin was such a zealous abolitionist that before the Civil War, the Southern railroads refused to buy his engines. He was on the right side. It doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
Baldwin lived a long time ago. The statue to him was old, so they wrecked it. It's year zero. Nothing that came before can remain.
It's year zero. Nothing that came before can remain. Now why would anyone think that's right? And yet, they're already doing it. They've already destroyed a lot of statues already. This isn't just something minor. It's all over the United States. This is the worst thing that has ever happened in the United States in the history of the country. Right now, it's the Blackest Friday in the history of the country.
For that reason, dozens of other monuments have suffered the same fate, often with the encouragement of our professional class. They're cheering it on, as they always do. Erin Thompson, for example, is a professor of art crime at New York's John Jay College of Criminal Justice. She says her expertise is, quote, the damage done to humanity's shared heritage through looting, theft, and the deliberate destruction of art. And yet, because everything is irony, Professor Thompson is herself an enthusiastic supporter of destroying our shared heritage in this country. Quote, use chain instead of rope and it'll go faster, the professor instructed on Twitter Wednesday night. Then she shared even more tips for effectively destroying our monuments. Nowhere does anyone in authority seem interested in protecting our history and protecting our public spaces from nihilists like Professor Thompson and the mobs she commands. The police memorial in Richmond, Virginia, commemorates the sacrifice of officers killed in the line of duty. It has nothing to do with the Confederacy. You'd think our leaders would defend it, but no, they didn't. The other day, a mob defaced that memorial, and authorities did nothing. What are our leaders telling us by their negligence in the face of the mob? They're sending a very clear message. It's this: we don't care about you. We don't care about the country. We don't care about your history, your monuments, your rights, your safety. Meanwhile, forces of hate and repression are destroying all of these things. As far back as 3 years ago, CNN employees were calling for the destruction of the Washington Monument and the Jefferson Memorial.
American history is not all glorious, and even though I love John to death, I couldn't disagree more about George Washington. George Washington was a slave owner, and we need to call slave owners out for what they are. Whether we think they were protecting American freedom or not, he wasn't protecting my freedom. I wasn't someone who my ancestors weren't deemed human beings to him. And so to me, I don't care if it's a George Washington statue or a Thomas Jefferson statue or a Robert E. Lee statue. They all need to come down.
Thanks for the lecture, idiot. It may happen, by the way, at this rate it will. The Washington Monument will be torn down with chains, not ropes. The Jefferson Memorial, too. When that happens, how many lives will be improved? How many people will be happier, will get better jobs? How many will be improved by the desecration of war graves? The answer, of course, is none. It's not about improving the lives of anyone of any color. It's about political power. Political power achieved by the oldest means of all force. It's an attempt to legitimize you who vote the wrong way and the society you live in, which they hate and want to control.
Delegitimize, Cooker. That's the first time I've ever seen him make a mistake. He meant delegitimize.
You think you live in a country with freedom of speech, freedom of religion, equality guaranteed under law. Tough. The documents that celebrate those rights, that enshrine them, were written by bigots. We tore their statues down. Now we're in charge. Is anyone for this exactly?
Nope.
Anyone?
Nope.
The American people want this? No.
Nope.
Even now, in the middle of our cultural revolution, only 32% of Americans say they want Civil War statuary torn down. How about desecrating war graves? There's no polling on the subject that we could find, but it's hard to believe there's a groundswell of support for this. Millions of people don't have jobs. Why?
Who the fuck would be in support of desecrating graves? Who would want to do that? Any graves of anybody. They're graves. They're dead. They can't defend themselves.
Why are we spending time on this? Well, it's happening because a violent mob is forcing its agenda down the throat of our country. Our leaders, very much, including Mitch McConnell and other Republicans in the Senate, are too cowardly to resist them. When asked about the bill to desecrate national cemeteries, one congressional Republican told journalist Ryan Gradusky, quote, "This isn't the hill to die on." Okay, so where is that hill exactly?
You know, if you'd ask any soldier, okay, any of them, even today, any soldier would have died for these monuments. That's America you're talking about. That's us. That's our history. It's everything that we are. Are you kidding me? Come on.
What won't you let them do to the country? Let us know when you find out. Now, to be clear, because there's no question this will become trending on Twitter, we are not defending the Southern Confederacy. We abhor it. Few Americans would defend the Southern Confederacy. And again, we certainly wouldn't. The Confederacy declared war on the United States. We're grateful they lost and that their cause was discredited forever by losing. And it was discredited. But that's the whole point. The Civil War was the turning point in American history. It shaped who we are now. Eliminating the past leaves us unable to say who we are. And that's the point of eliminating it. It's exactly why they're doing it. Joey Jones is a retired Marine Staff Sergeant. He joins us tonight. Joey, thanks.
This is too much, guys. I mean, I wouldn't have believed it. Nobody can believe this is happening. And the thing is, the fucking news, the mainstream media aren't even talking. They're like acting like this is no big deal. They're with it. They want this to happen. Is there any question that we're at war yet? That the nation is under attack? Is anybody going to doubt that yet? Okay, I've been saying this for years, that we're under attack, okay? We're under fucking attack, okay? And this other thing about when he mentioned, why isn't Mitch McConnell and Republicans trying to defend us? I made a video earlier today. Right now, they're embroiled in a fucking battle right now, and we don't even know about it. In the Senate chambers, they're going after the old Obama administration. They're realizing with these Flynn letters and stuff like that, the leaking in the press, that those guys all knew what they did. The whole Russiagate thing was planned. They did it. They created it. They knew they did it. And for all those years, we kept hearing Russia, 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 Russia. Wait, let me try to find a clip of Keith Olbermann. Give me a second here. Wait a second.
It's not just that McCain's analogy is apt. It is as if there are no shoes on the Trump human centipede that are not about Russia. Russia, Russia, Russia. Trump claims his phones were tapped. Then Kellyanne Conway emerges from wherever she was hiding to suggest that, never mind Trump's crazy claim, there may have been wholesale surveillance of the Trump campaign, possibly including, quote, microwaves that turn into cameras. We know this is a fact of modern life.
This is all true. It was a fucking witch hunt, okay? Fucking these guys, man. They kept shoving this down your throat every day. Russia, 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 Russia. It wasn't it. That was all bullshit and they knew it. Maybe that's why the Republicans don't appear to be helping us, but God saved this country. I think we've already lost. There'll be Breitbart news tonight. Today is the 12th of June, 2020. Marty Waller from Livonia, Michigan.